Hi everyone, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule, and today I want to talk about artisanal and small-scale mining. So when it comes to the mining sector, we have two types of mining. We have large-scale mining, and then we have small-scale mining, or sometimes it's called artisanal and small-scale mining. But there are various complexities related to ASM, that is artisanal and small-scale mining. And yet it contributes significantly to the economic development of various developing countries with resources or minerals. So in today's discussion, we want to understand what ASM means, issues regarding formalization, issues regarding legalization, and also how we can ensure that ASM coexists with large-scale mining. So that is the purpose for today's discussion. Let me share my slides to be able to guide us throughout the discussion. So like I introduced myself, I'm Dr. Victoria Nalule. I'm an author of 9 books on energy mining and natural resources, and I've also authored like 3 books on the mining sector, mining land policy. And within those books, I do look at the issue of artisanal and small-scale mining. So the mining sector, like I already mentioned, it can be categorized into 2 types. You have large-scale mining, and with large-scale mining, it's mostly the big companies that are involved in the extraction and production of minerals. But then you also have small-scale mining. With small-scale mining, you have mostly small companies, local companies that are involved in the mining sector on a small scale. Then you have artisanal mining. With artisanal mining, you have local people who usually use hand tools or rudimentary methods to mine minerals. So there are various minerals that are subject to artisanal small-scale mining. You have gold mining. Gold mining in different developing countries like Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, there are lots of artisanal miners. You have cobalt and copper in countries like the DRC Congo. There are many miners, artisanal miners, and also small-scale miners involved in this business alongside large-scale mining companies. Now we also have some resources like construction minerals like sand. Even sand attracts a lot of large-scale miners, mining companies, big mining companies, especially Chinese companies now are very, there are so many in different developing African countries, Chinese companies that are involved in sand mining. But alongside these companies, you also have small companies, local companies involved in sand mining, and then you also have artisanal miners in sand mining. Then the other resource also that attracts a lot of artisanal small-scale miners, it's salt mining. Salt mining also has big companies involved in it, but it also has small companies and artisanal miners. You can actually check out my videos on sand mining, salt mining, and gold mining because I covered issues with respect to artisan and small-scale miners in these sectors, in sand, gold, and salt. So those are 3 resources that you can really compare with to see the kind of methods, rudimentary methods used by small-scale miners, issues to do with environmental issues, health issues, and also economic challenges. So the videos can be found on my YouTube channel, but I'll also be able to share them with you. They're fieldwork videos, so you would at least get a clear picture of what happens on the ground. So basically, there's a growing importance in the global mining sector because generally the mining sector, like we've already covered in the previous sessions, is crucial for the economic development of the countries that have the resources. It has the capacity to improve livelihoods. It has the capacity to ensure economic development and local development. And also the mineral supply chains do provide lots of opportunities. So what is artisanal small-scale mining? This typically involves individuals or small groups mining independently using basic, often manual tools. So these miners, artisanal miners, they use hand tools. You will see the field videos. They're often using hand tools. And most of the tools they're using, they're manual, they're rudimentary, and they're outdated. And for small-scale mining, it might involve more organized operations through small companies, but still also the kind of materials they use or technology is not that advanced. So ASM plays a significant economic and social role in many African countries and other developing countries, and it employs hundreds and thousands of people, supporting millions more indirectly. So for the people who are involved in ASM, they're mostly local communities, local people. But however, we've also seen instances where foreigners get involved in ASM. For instance, there was a situation in Ghana where Chinese nationals were involved in artisanal gold mining. And there was actually a crash between the ASM miners, Ghanaian miners, local miners, and these artisanal miners, Chinese miners, because they were fighting for the resources. And it was also a bit confusing because most people would think that for foreigners, like investors from China, they would come and be involved in bigger projects and not fight for these small mining projects with local communities. So whereas with ASM, in most cases, we assume that it involves local communities or local people, we have seen instances where even foreigners from different countries come and get involved in the rudimentary methods of, mining through ASM. So ASM, it's on a low scale and it's a labor-intensive mining activity. Because they lack technology, they lack machinery, they lack updated innovative technologies, it implies that people are going to use it's going to be labor intensive. It's going to be manual labor. And you will see in the videos that most miners would use hand tools. Most miners would get into the gold mines themselves. They would be digging for like sand. They will get into the salt water. So all that really characterizes what ASM means. And ASM has for a very long time been informal. It's one of the oldest activity in Africa besides agriculture, and it has been informal. But now we have seen instances where governments want to organize the ASM miners to formalize it and then legalize it. So a question might arise that has ASM been illegal for the past centuries? No, it wasn't illegal. It was legal, but it was informal. But we are in a century where many governments want to formalize it. And with formalization, it comes with legalization. You have to first acknowledge that ASM, it's a legal activity, and then formalize it. So those are some of the key issues that we're seeing in different countries like Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, Nigeria, and other different African countries and developing countries, Asian countries, where they're moving towards formalizing ASM and legalizing it. So some of the key features of ASM, there is limited capital investment, there is use of basic technology, and then high labor participation. most of the mines that have ASM activities, you'll find so many people because they are labor intensive. It's manual labor. You will find few technology or machinery. And even if they're there, they're not innovative, they're not upgraded. So basically, those are the features of ASM. It's totally different from large scale mining because large scale mining is driven by technology, it's driven by machinery. There's a lot of innovation, and it's also capital intensive. So why does ASM matter? It's a major source of employment in rural areas. You find that most of the ASM activities are found in rural areas, and the people in those communities would be looking at ASM as a source of employment. So it's a major source of employment. It supports livelihoods and reduces on poverty, because besides the miners themselves, you also have to count the people who indirectly benefit from ASM, the families of those miners, the communities, because there is economic development in those communities. And then it also contributes to mineral supply chains, including critical minerals. And it has also become increasingly important, especially during this energy transition era, whereby there is a demand for critical minerals. And some of those critical minerals, like cobalt and copper, some of them come through ASM. So it has become a very important sector in our economies. So does it provide opportunities? Obviously, there's economic inclusion and job creation, contribution to national economies, integration into formal supply chains, and then potential for sustainable development. So ASM has the opportunity to contribute to economic development because we've already mentioned it provides employment to people. It can also be a source of revenue, especially where the government has decided to formalize and legalize it. And it can also contribute to national economies because most of the people who are involved in ASM, they are local people, unlike large-scale mining where you'll find big companies from different countries being involved. With ASM, all the profits that they're making, most of them would get back into their communities. They would go back to developing their communities. So the money, the profits are not just transferred to a different country, it will stay within that country. So ASM provides different opportunities, and as such, it's very important to ensure the governance of ASM. And how can it be governed, or how is it being governed right now? It's governed through national mining laws and regional frameworks. Previously, mining laws were not recognizing ASM as being legal. But in recent years, we're seeing mining laws in Ghana, in Uganda, and Tanzania recognizing or legalizing ASM. And with legalization comes the need for formalization. So once it has been legalized, it means that it's being governed by the legal framework in the country. And that means that people, miners, can organize themselves in groups to benefit from the economic aspects of that formalization. For instance, if they want to get loans from the bank or get financial support, if it's formalized and they are also well organized in a group, they can reach out to a bank for financial support to help them with getting advanced technology or machinery for their activities. But however, there are some issues that have to be looked into. The health and safety issues related to ASM are very crucial. Like you will see in the fieldwork videos I did, there are lots of health and safety issues. Miners are working without safety gears. Miners are using hand tools that are harmful to them. There is use of mercury in gold mining, which has an impact on the environment. So formalization and regulation really has to focus on how ASM can effectively be regulated and governed to ensure proper licensing so that ASM miners can also get licenses, to ensure that they also protect the environment, to ensure that they respect health and safety aspects, to ensure that they respect human rights, and also to ensure community engagement. Because currently, there are lots of human rights abuses associated with ASM. There is lots of child labor and lots of conflicts. So all those have to be regulated, all those have to be looked into. Otherwise, whereas ASM employs a significant number of local communities, if it's not well regulated or governed, then it will continue being a challenge and a problem in different developing countries. So there is a need for legal frameworks. The legal frameworks are there in most countries like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, but then there is a need for implementing these legal frameworks. And implementing will not just be about having strong institutions. It also requires capacity building and education of the miners, the artisanal miners, to teach them about the importance of formalization, why it's important for them to formalize their activities, to teach them why the laws are important to regulate their activities, and also to teach them about their own expectations as miners. For instance, expectations when it comes to environmental compliance, expectations when it comes to promoting human rights, expectations when it comes to ensuring that they also formalize their activities, they register, because some miners might not be interested in registering, and also expectations when it comes to being in compliance with the different relevant laws, national laws, environmental laws, mining laws, taxation laws. All those are very important. So there's a need for effective national and regional laws that are essential for formalization. Like I've already mentioned, formalization is very essential for ASM. If it's not formalized, then people will continue to work illegally. So it's essential for the governments to recognize ASM as a legal activity, formalize them. There is need for the different stakeholders, the government, communities, and the miners to sit together and find effective ways of formalizing. Because even the countries with laws are still struggling with ASM miners because they're not working in compliance with the laws. Some of them don't even understand the laws. Some of them don't know that the laws exist. So it's still informal, and there is a need to formalize and legalize it. There is also a need to ensure sustainability and equitable benefits, because sustainability, the three main principles of sustainability, you have the environmental, social, and economic pillars. Those are the three main pillars of sustainability. So those three main pillars also have to be applied in ASM mining, because in most cases, when you talk about sustainability and environmental protection, it's mostly restricted to large-scale mining, but also ASM, they have to incorporate the three main pillars of sustainability to ensure that their activities are leading to economic development, ensure that their activities are protecting the environment, and also to ensure social inclusion. So what does formalization of ASM means? It means a transition from informal to regulated operations. And the benefits are there's legal recognition, because initially ASM was not legally recognized. So most people who are involved in ASM, they would be doing it illegally. But with formalization, that transition from formal to regulated operations, it means that the activities will be legal. Then access to finance and markets. Once it's formalized, it will be easy for the miners to access finance and markets, and then improved working conditions. So there are various legal frameworks that have been focused on formalizing and legalizing ASM. For instance, in Peru, you have their law of 2002 on formalization and promotion of ASM. In Malawi, you have the Mines and Minerals Act of 2023, and the key provisions there are basically to the effect that those countries recognize ASM as being a legal activity, and then they permit, there's a requirement to have permits for operations, and then the need to ensure environmental and occupation standards. Tanzania also, through their 2010 Mining Act, formalized ASM, and Uganda also formalized it. So there are various countries that have formalized and legalized ASM, but however, there's still some challenges. We have weak enforcement capacity because most countries, whereas they have formalized and legalized it, the enforcement is not that strong, it's not effective. Then environmental degradation. Most of the operations involving ASM, they do not respect environmental protection or environmental standards. There is conflicts with large-scale mining because in most cases, large-scale mining and ASM, they're in the same area, and it has been hard for them to coexist. So the conflicts are always there. And then limited access to finance and technology for ASM miners, in that up to now, most ASM miners are still using rudimentary methods. And also, most people are still working informally. Most miners are still working informally, making it hard for the governments to supervise them. So there are also ASM social impacts. It's unsafe for miners. For instance, in January 2025, several illegal miners were trapped in South Africa while searching for gold. They became stranded during a nationwide police operation targeting illicit mining at disused sites. And that's an example of some of the social impacts of ASM. It has become very unsafe for miners, and they use rudimentary methods. So we are seeing so many people being stranded, so many people dying, so many people's health being impacted because of the rudimentary methods and the informality of ASM. So these are some of the rudimentary methods you're seeing here. But in the videos I'm going to share with you, the fieldwork videos, you will see some videos on salt mining, some videos on sand mining, and some videos on gold mining with ASM miners using rudimentary methods. There's also child labor because most of the children are working with their parents in these mines. So these children are missing out on education. They're being exposed to the health impacts of ASM. They're being exposed to chemicals like mercury, which is being used in gold mining, in ASM gold mining. So child labor is rampant in ASM, and it really has to be addressed. And then health challenges. Now you're seeing here, these are miners mining gold. ASM miners involved in gold mining. They don't have any safety gears, and they don't have any protective gears, implying that they're being exposed to the chemicals, they're being exposed to the dirty water and all the various negative impacts that are associated with these activities. Then the working conditions are unsafe for women. They're also unsafe for children. Like you're seeing here, these are also miners. You're seeing the kind of tools they're using to mine. The working conditions are always unsafe. So in comparison, we note that large-scale mining plays a big role because of revenue generation, but ASM, Artisanal Small-Scale Mining, also plays a significant role. And whereas we always say that ASM is unsafe, we've also seen instances where large-scale mining has been unsafe. For instance, in May 2025, over 260 miners in South Africa were trapped underground following an accident at Simbanye Stillwater's Clove Gold Mine. And this is like a large-scale mining company. So ASM has its challenges and advantages, but also compared with large-scale mining, they also have their challenges and advantages. So in your free time, you can look at, you can select a country case study and analyze the legal framework governing ASM, look at the licensing requirements, look at the policies with respect to formalization, environmental protection, community engagement, and the key implementation challenges. So basically, that's it about artisanal small-scale mining. It's an activity that is common in different developing countries. There have been laws to formalize it. There have been laws to legalize it and formalize it, but currently it has been hard to organize these miners, implying that governments now need to come up with new innovative strategies on how they can manage artisanal small-scale mining. It is capable of contributing significantly to the economic development of developing countries, but that can only be achieved if there is success in formalizing it and organizing them. All right, thank you. This will be the end of the discussion.